welcome back to another episode with Reinforce the Horse.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening. We appreciate it.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
That's always good to hear. So I thought that today we talk about connection with horses. And this came up because Willow and I feel like have been connecting a lot through doing our at liberty dressage maneuvers. And so she's learned to do Spanish walk. She's learning to side pass. She just learned to do circles. So we're doing all sorts of fun things. And my dad here and Cody made a huge milestone with riding. So do you want to discuss that a little bit?
Yeah, so as I've mentioned in prior sessions, I stopped riding Cody about the time, not long after you got Willow, so just about a year ago, and completely stopped riding just so that I would be able to kind of retrain Cody sort of from the ground up, and he could retrain me from the ground up from a riding perspective. I found that neither one of us were enjoying riding, and neither one of us were really good at it, and we didn't have very much of a connection, and it was more kind of about me feeling like I treated Cody like a quad or a ATV or something like that, where I just kind of get him out to ride and put him back, and that just didn't sit well with me. So I focused on stopping that and not having any expectation whatsoever, and just really focusing on building connection and relationship. And I've done that in various ways, but the main way is just by spending time with him and kind of learning what makes him tick, what makes him happy, really cueing in on the subtle differences in his demeanor and the way he communicates non-verbally, of course, and just by shifts in his overall energy and even real subtle physical shifts, like a twitch of the ear or the veins in his face changing shape, or the tightness in his jaw and lip lines and all those sorts of things. Just really focusing there as opposed to focusing on some sort of writing task. And the result in I would say it's been about 9 solid months. I would say a week or two ago, decided, and it wasn't a decision really, it was just a feeling like, oh, well, let's try riding. And so I asked Cody if I could get on, and he said yes. And I've been training that ask and tell, if you will, by asking him by standing at his side. And if he would not want me to get on, he would take a slight step backward. And, I was using some positive reinforcement for that, and also some of the trust technique, mindfulness aspects of just, acknowledging that shift in his energy. So I would stand at his side and say, can I get on? And if he would take a step backward, then I would step back myself and click and treat at the same time and acknowledge his decision, and then maybe cycle through that a few times and ask him again. And the beautiful thing is that when I had this idea of just trying it out of the blue to mount, and I said, can I get on? And the way he says yes is just lateral flexing into me, and he's like, yes, you can. And I mounted, And then we proceeded to have like the best ride that we've ever had. And it was just around our property. And it was awesome. And I felt that connection, that strong connection. And from that point, the following few days, it was kind of like a plateau and then some digression so we're a few days past that point now, and I'll ask him to get on, and he's really solid now with me mounting, and he's comfortable with that. But then now we're at a point where I ask to walk forward, and it's like 99.9. Well, right now it's 100% of the time. He says no, thank you, so he takes a step backward, and so. But I'm acknowledging that decision immediately, and dismounting, clicking, treating, and he's clearly communicating with me. So we have such a strong connection, or stronger connection than we did a year ago.
So that's amazing. And you described this one feeling when you were on him as this sensation up through your spine, like you could feel his energy. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm really intrigued and interested right now on the topic of energy healing and energy all around. So not just healing, but just how we as humans can learn to open up the channels, if you will, about energy movement. And I've recently learned that the human body has an energy field around it that goes out about 3 to 4 feet from the physical body. And it's my opinion right now that it's, our energy moves about us, and actually we communicate a lot with our energy. And so when it comes to riding, a lot of horse people understand energy with their horse, whether they believe it as like a healing modality or not. Anytime you mount a horse, whether it's on a saddle or bareback, you feel that horse's energy. It's something that can't be explained. In my mind, anyway, I don't really know how to explain it. It's kind of a magical feeling to me. But I feel a lot of energy just standing with the horse, and maybe like putting my hand above their withers. There seems to me, like right around the withers and just after the river withers, there just feels like it's an energetic point of the horse there. And so when we mount and we sit, especially bareback, we're just aft of the withers. We're just behind the withers and kind of tucked in that position. And our spines are connecting, but essentially our tailbone is connected to their spine. And I believe there's a lot of energy that flows through our nervous systems. Now, I don't have any like science or whatever to back that up. Excuse me. But I feel it. And to me, that's a very strong connection point, and to be able to feel that gives rise to the ability to really communicate in a riding position and throughout the ride.
Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate. So this is something that I have not personally experienced. So it's really amazing to hear somebody, let alone my dad, explain this. because I never thought, like, of all people, that he would be the one to be explaining this. It just never crossed my mind. Like, I never thought of it.
So, did you never felt that with Mocha?
No. And it's an interesting thing because I seriously believe Mocha was very shut down. And so neither of us were susceptible to that feeling.
Right, so that channel, that frequency was basically turned off for both of you.
And her ability and willingness to share it with me was off, and my ability and willingness to receive it was off. And so in many, many ways, Mocha and I were never connected. In a lot of ways, like, I don't feel like I should have ever mounted that horse.
Huh.
And maybe you can relate to the first few times you got on Cody. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure.
Most definitely. Like, well, for me, in starting that horsemanship journey with, at first it was Mocha, and then getting Cody soon after that. I felt like I shouldn't be riding, which we now know, like, clearly, like, if you ever feel like you shouldn't be riding, that's like a telltale sign to not get on and ride. And I was ignorant at that point. And that's after working with a trainer and a couple other people who would not necessarily encourage it, but they would encourage it from a perspective of, oh, well, just move the horse's feet, apply pressure, get him to turn into you, and, you know, show two eyes and all those sorts of things, and now you're ready to mount.
Yep.
I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Does it provide a safer situation than just walking up to the horse and mounting it? Sure. But it doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't provide connection.
Yeah, or clarity. I mean, we're all, when we get on them, I have found, I believe that it should be a team effort, and I think that we should both trust each other with our lives.
Yes.
I mean, and I've gotten on Willow once, and I will never forget that feeling of sitting on her and feeling like I fit like a puzzle piece. However, I have not moved with her yet. We haven't gotten there. But when we do, it's gonna be an amazing feeling because of the connection and trust that we've established on the ground.
Well, and I'd like to just tell you how insanely proud I am of you and her in that way, because I don't feel like you rushed that first mounting situation with her at all, and you both were comfortable, but then at that point, you both, and I watched it play out from the ground, you both were like, oh wow, that was a lot, and we have some more work to do. And you both acknowledged that together. It was a beautiful display of trust and connection, because what a lot of humans would do in that situation would have pressed it and been like, okay, we hit that milestone, now let's keep going. And a lot of horses in that situation would have been okay with that. And I think you could have taken it that route with Willow, and she would have been okay with it. But the beauty of it was that you both communicated what I perceived to be a bit of apprehension and a bit of being unsure with the trust that you both had for each other at that point. And you both decided through a mutual connection to pause and take a step back and keep working together. And from that point, what I've seen unfold between you and her has been quite amazing, really. I mean, and you're both learning to ride without actually riding, and I've learned a lot, and I've been trying to mirror that in my work with Cody, and it's really done a lot. So I don't know. I just want to throw that out there. How like proud and yeah.
Thank you. That makes me feel really amazing as not only a person but a trainer.
Yes.
So I've always been interested in this like liberty work, and for those of you who may be listening and aren't necessarily familiar with that term, I understand it as like a form of training and connection without the use of any tack, and so I've always wanted to teach it. I've always loved watching people do it and perform and do the Liberty freestyles where they pretty much dance to music with their horses, either riding or not. And so I've always had a love and passion for that sort of work with horses. And so I get this wild Mustang, Willow, and she's always had this drive to work. And I don't know if that's, unique to the Mustang, if that's just who she is, if that's a horse trait. Like, I haven't really known enough Mustangs or horses to know, what that is. But she loves to work and she loves to learn. And so I took it upon myself with, learning Mustang Maddie's course to, like, put all of the training that I do with her in a positive way and with the least amount of pressure applied to her as I possibly can. And so with that, I've taught her we've learned together. She'll side pass toward me with a cue, and she loves doing this, and no tack has ever been on her to teach these behaviors. And I think that I've heard I've seen and heard many others explain that when you train using Liberty techniques, it builds trust and connection. And so I believe that continuing to learn these maneuvers as a team, when we ride, that trust and connection it'll be there, but in a larger form.
Yeah.
Through learning the behaviors. And so that's a bit of a background on my interests with the horses, and it blows my mind with what Willow can do because of our training together.
Well, I'm just going to throw that out there that in a single day, not even a whole day, it was a matter of maybe a couple hours, you taught Willow how to paint.
Yeah.
With a paintbrush and paper. And she's painting some pretty amazing art.
She is.
So more on that to come in the near future, but I just wanted to give you a plug on that because I remember when you signed up for the Horse Human Connection Academy course, and one of the intros had Cassie's horses in there painting, and the video is just like an introduction video, and you were so interested and
excited
about that, and I remember you saying something like, "Man, I wish, or I really hope someday I could teach Willow how to paint," and less than a year later, you've already done it, and she's doing it, and that is in my mind, that is an extreme form of trust and connection. These are foreign objects to a horse, but she's also, it's fascinating to me because she's expressing an artistic side of herself that most people, myself included, probably would not think about any animal, especially a horse, being willing, able, and actually interested in doing something like that.
Yeah.
And so I find it fascinating the way you are using technique to apply. It's such like an outside of the box sort of style of thinking to me, because you know what I learned early on, what we both learned early on in our horsemanship journey was very typical, and like, you know, just the training methods, and it all had a riding focus, but I don't know, you're developing this relationship with this horse, and it just shows so much out of the box thinking on your part, and willingness and ability to do some really cool, fun things. But it's all relating back to your desire to ride. And I do believe that horses desire humans to ride. I believe that.
I definitely can piggyback on that. I think that initially, especially, I mean, take a wild horse, for example, it's a vulnerable part of them to have something or somebody rather on that part of their back. And so I think that initially, I mean, so one may ask the question then, why is my Mustang so hesitant of me being on her back? Well, I think the answer to that is that her instincts are kicking in, and me as a trainer has to come in and transform those instincts to understand that that I am not a predator, and she knows that. But those instincts, I have to kind of shape those instincts in a way to not to see me as, to see the writing process and me as a perfect thing. And like the predator instinct, I think, goes away.
And on that note, you know, Cody's a domestic horse, and that instinct still exists. And then to make matters worse, like, he clearly has had an upset past, especially when it comes to riding. And he's a Bashkir Curly, which the way I understand it, they tend to have a stronger memory, especially when it comes to negative things happening in their life. I've heard that.
That definitely seems true with Cody.
Yeah, and so reprogramming that from the ground up has been nothing short of amazing. And like even just this morning, you know, acknowledging that we're making so much progress, and I'm grateful for that progress, and that doesn't mean I'm like galloping across the open field right now. It just means, but in our mind, in our hearts, in our being, we are doing that. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes 100% sense.
Like, just the fact that he's now standing so calm, and like I can understand and hear his communication, like through his eyes and his postures and stuff like that. And I see his contentment with the things that we're doing and communicating with each other at this moment. So I think of like what, you know, I'm excited about the next few months or year or years even, and you know, where are we going to be at then? And it's just exciting.
Yeah.
But staying here in the present and just acknowledging even the small steps and being happy and excited about that. Really
yeah, and in a lot of ways, Cody has trained you just as much as you've trained him.
I think he's trained me so much more. I am so much more in tune with myself and just my flow of energy, and yeah, it's been amazing to feel and watch and be part of the process.
Yeah. And in a lot of, I mean, so one example that I can say is when he first started writing Cody, he told you when he didn't want you to get on by stepping back.
Yeah.
And I suppose initially that was something that, was a negative thing. And so now he's cueing you to either not get on him or get off of him just by that simple backup.
Right, and I think you told me, like, a lot of people would, like, want to train that out.
Yeah.
Like, that backup. And, I haven't. I went with it. Yeah, I embraced that, as his form of communication, and it worked really well because he demonstrated he was comfortable using that as a communication tool, and I demonstrated that I was comfortable acknowledging that, and so it was like a win-win. And it's not like a back. It's a real subtle, and I'm getting to the point now where I feel the energy of him kind of, it is kind of an apprehension. So I'll stand at his side. He's okay with that. And then if he's not like turning into me, lateral flexing to say, yes, please, I can feel the apprehension in a form of energy buildup. And it's a real quick, like, milliseconds go by where that energy buildup culminates into a slight step backwards. And I'm acknowledging it immediately, and he's relieved by it. And that also allows, it keeps him interested, and we're more connected in the whole training process at that point. And he, like, takes deep breath and,
licks his lips.
Yeah, and he does all the telltale signs of being at calm. And he's learning. And then you and I have talked about a lot about the whole dwell time and, letting them be and shifting maybe. So I've been pretty active and focused the past few days. And so now for a few days, I'm not even going to ask to mount or ride or anything, and we're just going to hang out. I'm not going to even train. I'm just going to hang out with him. And
that could be reinforcing for you both and build the connection.
Right.
Because not only is he dwelling, but you're dwelling with him. And regardless of if that makes any sense in the human brain, I believe that we dwell on those things just as much as they do, especially if we're learning that together.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
And I feel like we are connected, and this can potentially get into some woo-woo stuff.
Bring on the woo, I love it.
Yeah, I think it's legit. But anyways, I think that we are all connected, but I think that when we can, like, tune into one or maybe even multiple horses, like, we're always connected, we're always with them in a way. And in some ways, if we go through, say we have like an accident and we fall down and scrape our knee, I feel like they can feel that pain when that happens in some way, shape, or form because of our energy.
Oh, yeah, I agree 100%.
And so that gets into, when we I guess, leave them to dwell. We're not really leaving them to dwell. We're with them in it, and we're thinking about it just as much as they are.
Mm-hmm.
And we're learning, and we're all in this together.
I found it interesting about the dwell time that it kind of goes back to like an old cowboy up style of training.
That's interesting to me.
And, like, and they may have used harsher types of training processes, but then letting that be for a while, and then a more while, a longer while rather. So yeah, it's fascinating to see. So I had a very emotional moment with Willow this morning that you observed, and I want to bring that up because it really demonstrates like connection, and I won't get into the nitty gritty details, but suffice it to say that I had been just kind of being with Willow and talking with her, and she smiled, literally smiled, and acknowledged what I was saying. And it was like this wave of emotional energy that just came over both of us, and you witnessed it. That is connection. And the way that plays out is just, it's so fascinating to me.
Yeah. It is a beautiful thing. And for me, it's quite amazing to watch Willow connect with my dad. And because I was the first one to like be able to comfortably lay hands on her.
Right.
And it's like really cool that she, like, I'm not the only person she trusts. Mm-hmm. And, she almost prefers you like she prefers me. And it's like, it's a really amazing thing to see. And I mean, you've mentioned before, like you believe that she knows that I'm your daughter, which is
I think
pretty
so.
amazing. And maybe she understands the relationship that you and I have, and she's in on it just as much as we are. Which I think that's also amazing. I mean, I have experienced some pretty amazing things with Willow alone, and I think at this point anything is possible. And so I think that in a lot of ways, the way that I connect with you helps her to feel safe around you and secure, and that she can trust you with her emotions.
Right. So, and what I heard you say there is that she sees and feels our relationship and interaction such that she feels comfortable. It's just like if we have like, if I bring like some human friends over and like, hey, I want you to meet John or whatever, and then you're like, oh yeah, hi, how's it going? And so you have a comfort level and maybe trust with that person because I'm introducing you and I have that relationship with them, but they otherwise would be a perfect stranger to you. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also think that this piggybacks back on what I was saying a little while ago as to, I think that we're connected all the time. I mean, maybe they can feel our energy now, and it's influencing how they're relaxing today. And so I think that because when we got Willow, at the time of Willow coming home, I was in a really interesting place in life. I had lost Mocha almost exactly 2 months later, 2 months before then. And I was just in a really weird, like, mental state. But I think I needed Willow, and I think she needed me just as much.
Right.
And anyway, so throughout our, like, this very start of our training journey, it was mostly her and I. My dad was present with her, occasionally, mostly with Cody, but he was around, and you and I were just like, we built our trust and our connection a lot during that time, and I seriously think that influenced her, the connection that she has with you now.
I
Because
agree.
she felt that.
Yep.
And I think that in a lot of, I think I've always been connected with Willow since
Like the beginning of time?
Yeah, since she was
Yeah.
born. And that's also very woo-woo. But yeah, I think that it's all connected, and I think that if I didn't have as good of a relationship with you, she wouldn't either.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good way. So all you fathers and mothers out there, get your get your sons and daughters horses, and they'd be a good indicator on how sound your relationship with your children are.
Right? Horses are pretty amazing.
I feel that. Yeah.
But yeah, so as always, thanks everyone for watching, or for listening.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can find us on Facebook on our Reinforce the Horse page. We're also on YouTube and TikTok at Reinforce the Horse. And so you can come and follow mine and Willow's journey. And sometimes we throw in some videos of my dad and Cody because, well, we all know Cody's adorable.
Right.
So,
Thank you all, and have a great rest of your day.
bye.